Hey guys, it's Nick with Chestnut Hills Farmstead. You know, we were talking about doing a new video series on the behind the scenes stuff. The stuff that's not really all that great for video, but just showing you the day to day and trying not to bore you with it too much. If you can hear in the background, that's Zoe on the mower. Doesn't make for much of a video, but she's running wide open up there. I'm about to get on this tractor and do some more cutting, but I do have a little bit of something to tell you. Last night, we were at a high school football game and just came one heck of a storm. Winds were crazy. I texted my buddy over at Cog Hill Farm. Jason has all the weather information. He's saying that winds were sustained 25, 30 miles an hour, got a couple inches of rain. It was just, in a short amount of time, it was a doozy of a storm. We sustained some more damage. And typically I would probably keep this behind the scenes. We would just repair it and move on because it's just not something we usually include. But let me show you what we found today. Something else we got to deal with, and just one more pain in the butt. You don't see the old tractor barn here very often. It's just where we park the equipment. But here, you can see a little bit of roof damage. Well, there's a reason for that. That post. Wow. I don't know how good you can see that, but yeah, it took a pretty good hit. There's Zoe's bicycle and that. It's kind of funny that it can do that kind of damage to the barn, but those barrels laying there were just under the edge of the barn, and it just kind of blew them over and rolled them out there. But don't get on to me about my limb saw. I just set that down there. I was using it. But there's a story behind this post. So that, you know, this tractor barn is a little bit older. It was here before we ever started with a farm here. My dad built this to park his tractor under, the one right behind me. It was simply here to try to help maintain this by cutting it. Just running the bush hog over it. Some of you's gonna call it a brush hog. We're not in Oklahoma. This is Alabama, so it's a bush hog. But we just cutting this field. It was just here for maintaining that. He had a couple of garden implements where he planted a garden from time to time and planted some green fields for deer. So we built that for his tractor and his equipment. And we kind of, when we started out here, we added some shelves and moved some things around. Well, that post has been cracked for years. It just had a crack in it, and you saw those metal struts. Well, he put those on there just to kind of reinforce it since it had a crack in it. And never really paid much attention to it, hadn't had any issues. Well, the storm come through last night, and now we have an issue. So there's one more thing on the list to fix. But it's also behind the scenes that we had no reason to tell y'all, hey, there's a 4x4 on the barn down there that's cracked. It just wasn't meant to be on a video. There was no point in it. It wasn't falling in. It just was what it was. But now we'll do something about it because we don't have a choice. I moved the tractor out so it don't crash down on top of it. But I'm about to put that tractor to use. Zoe's still cutting grass. And then we've got a little something special that we want to talk to you about and tell you a story. for the story time. I told them we'd have a little bit of story time. We've got a lot of new followers, and we are tickled to death that y'all are here, that you have decided to join us, but we need to let you know a little bit about who we are. So I'm Nick.
I'm Zoe.
And we started Chestnut Hills Farmstead
2020.
2020, but we didn't start YouTube until
22.
We have 3 kids. We're a family of 5 working 40 acres in Alabama. We have Mackenzie is 15. We have Chance who just turned 10. And we got Farmer Rhett that y'all all know who is 5, going on 30.
Yes.
He is the farm boss that you'll see running around here. And we just want to introduce you to what we're doing and how it all happened.
All right. Well, Nick said that you guys have to start with me. When Nick and I got together, we did a lot of, playing pool and going out and doing a lot of that. But slowly, somewhere we began to shift, and we both decided that we needed a more simpler life. We wanted to be more sustainable for our family and for our kids, and that we really wanted to utilize this land that Nick had, and we slowly began to shift and started just kind of dreaming on paper. And when 2020 hit, it was actually in the fall of 2019, we put in an order for our first set of chickens. I told him I really would like to have some chickens where we could have our own eggs in the backyard. We weren't even actually doing anything here except bush hogging the grounds. And so we ordered our first set of chickens to be here at the beginning of the spring in 2020. And who knew that the world was going to crash like it did? So once we knew that we had chickens on the way, and we decided to start with 10. We had 10 different varieties of chickens and a rooster. Well, 10 different varieties of hens and a rooster, because we didn't know what we liked, but we actually sat down and wrote it down in a notebook, the personality traits and all the different things of the different chicken breeds that we wanted, that we liked, who laid eggs more, who laid eggs less, their colors, and we even went ahead and named them before we ever got them, and had it all wrote down in a notebook, and we still have that notebook somewhere. And we had our rooster. We had our rooster named, and his name was Rue Hefner. And so we had Rue and his play hens. And so 2020 hit, and the world shut down. And while the world shut down, Nick started building a chicken coop at our house in town. Well, on a whim trip to Tractor Supply, I came home with my first 2 ducks, Lucy and Ethel. And from there, we added our chickens, and we've just grown over and over and over, and here we are now.
So I'm Nick, and I'll try to tie all that together a little bit. Zoe mentioned that I was building a chicken coop for her at the house. It was all decorated and fancy, and we had no idea that that would only last a few months, that chickens would destroy all of that. But we decided, with the issues everyone was having in 2020, that we needed to figure out how to use this property as some type of food source. If we were going to move our family towards sustainability, it had to be more than just our backyard garden growing tomatoes and peppers and small stuff like that. We needed to figure out how to turn it into a real food source. So we laid out a large garden area. We could put a lot more variety in it, and we needed to figure out how we could start raising broiler chickens. We were doing some research on Joel Salatin videos, figuring out how to raise them on grass, to move to that regeneration of our pasture and supply food source, and we decided we needed something to put with them, and that's when we added geese. That's actually how the whole YouTube thing got started, because some of y'all have heard this story, but we've got a lot of new people. So I'm going to tie that together about how all that happened. We answered an ad for geese, and it just happened to be Brooke at Cog Hill that was selling the geese. And that's how we met, and that's who actually influenced us to get started with YouTube. So here we are trying to put in gardens, trying to raise some broilers. Now all of a sudden we're just getting started in this farming stuff, trying to figure it all out, and we're trying to video it as we do it. That brings a whole new difficulty to running a farm, is now that you have to video everything you do. So we got started with our chickens, ducks, geese. You're up to speed. But Zoe wanted other animals, and along came the goats.
So there we go, down the road in my SUV to pick up goats.
You know, I had actually forgotten about those goats.
Well, we do tell people all the time that this is not how to, it's how we do.
That's right.
Because we have redone many things many times.
So, my dad had goats when I was a kid, and I can vividly remember just strands of electric fence. The part I don't remember is if they ever got out. I don't think so. I don't think they did. He may tell me otherwise. He watches the videos, so he may say, "No, you're wrong. I chase goats all the time." But I don't remember that part. So we got some Gallagher Smart Fence, set it up in a small area, and thought this will be a good spot for the goats to start. It's got a little bit of grass. It's got some brush, which goats prefer. Let's go with that.
Well, that's our main reason of getting the goats. I wanted goats, and we had so much brush here and undergrowth. We thought it would be a good way, a cheaper way as well, of trying to get some of this overwhelming property kind of under control.
So we went and got these two goats in Zoe's Yukon. And here we come. We have the fence set up.
Their food's ready, their water's cold.
We're ready. We put the goats inside the fence, and Zoe and Chance decide they want to make friends with the goats before I ever turn the fence on.
You got a phone call and you stepped away, so we're attempting to play with these goats who are scared to death of us. And next thing you know, the goats are gone. They take off running.
Right out the back side of the fence that's not on yet.
So the goats got out and they headed to the woods, the big, thick woods. And we hunted and hunted and hunted, and we never were able to round them back up. We put food out for them.
And the food would always be gone.
The food would be gone, but we also thought it could be any stray animals, you know.
That's right.
And a couple of months later, we spotted them walking through the woods on the back side of the property.
And they may still be here today for all we know.
There's no telling, but we have not had them inside that fence since that first 5 minutes that they were here. And we just started over.
But we did get more goats. We were better prepared the next time.
Yes.
Realizing that we needed to not let them into just strands of fence, and we made sure it was on. And Gypsy and Johnny and Oliver came to Chestnut Hills.
And we still have Gypsy to this day. She's our oldest, well, not oldest animal, but she's been on the farm the longest.
That's right. And then the donkeys.
The donkeys. So originally, our neighbor in town, her dad raised a bunch of donkeys.
16.
And so we had been expressing to her that we would really like to get a couple of them just to graze in the pasture and all. And he gifted us 2. And they were very skittish, extremely skittish, and it took us hours to load them. But we came back with Star and Mary. And they were both bred, and one heavier than the other. And fast forward some, Star ended up having Pixie Dixie. We have videos of all that. We have videos that you guys can go back and watch where we brought them home and where we had Pixie Dixie, and then later on when we had Stormy. But Star did end up passing away from a old farm injury, and so we still now have Mary and Pixie Dixie here.
And there's videos on how all of that happened as well.
Yes, there is.
I'm going to have to put links to all this stuff in the description, but
Okay.
there's a video about Star, and there's a video about Stormy.
Stormy was Mary's baby, who a lot of you guys remember passed away during the Christmas holiday last year from complications. And so, yeah.
We'll just let them watch that video.
Yeah, that's right.
So as our goat herd grew, we decided that we had way too many males. Our kidding season last year was heavy boys. Mm-hmm. So we had 9 males that we needed to rehome, and we found a farm close by that was willing to take all males.
Yep.
They were fine. They were not raising goats. They just had goats. And he said, I'll take them all. So that's where they all live now. And we're continuing to grow that herd, but keeping the females, being selective on the males, and that's the way we're processing that. So our next move was another food source, the pigs. Those have still remained to be my favorite animal I've had on the farm. And there's tons of our pig videos, farrowing, raising them.
Live streams.
We did a butchering video on the farm, all kinds of things involving the pigs. But not living on the farm, it was just too labor intensive, and we sold our breeders for now. But that leads me in to where we are with the farm itself. This property is still owned by my dad and stepmom. You see the camper in some of the videos. That's just a place for them to come stay as they're traveling through or whatever. But
yeah, lots of people ask us about the camper in the videos.
Why can't you live in the camper? Whose camper is that?
We don't even have a key to it.
No. So we do not currently live on our farm. We live 7 miles away, which makes it very difficult to do a lot of the things that we want to do, but we're working in that direction. We're being patient, and we know that that time is coming. We get lots of questions about why don't you just build? Why don't you move a trailer there? Why don't you just live in a camper like Jason and Brooke did? All of those are great questions, and all have the same answer. It's just not financially feasible yet, because we've talked about a lot of different animals so far. We haven't gotten to Zoe's dream of having alpacas, which we have now. We have mini cows now. It's totally different direction than the way Nick wanted a farm. Nick wanted every animal to have a job, and now we have novelty pets and things for Zoe to play with. But we have a different group of animals we haven't talked about. Our kids.
That's an animal of itself, isn't it? So before we get into the kids, it's so easy to become part of this comparison. You know, we look at the beautiful farms that our friends have, and we just wonder why we're not there yet. And you know, we don't live here. Why can't we be there yet? And it's so easy to fall victim of playing comparison. and keeping up with who's who and who's doing what. And I was talking with Tracy and Jacqueline this week about that, and our lives are so different. All of our farm friends are don't have children our age, or our lifestyles are just different, which enables us to have different things on our farm. Tracy's able to dedicate all that time into her gardens, and it shows, but
Yeah.
she also said my kids are grown.
And Catherine stays at home and has a beautiful garden that we've walked through many times. We have friends that do this full time,
We do.
that can dedicate day to day to their projects, and it's wonderful that they do that, and we love watching it.
We're just not there yet.
Um, our friends at Our Brown Farmhouse have one of the prettiest farms
Right.
that I know of. They both still work and have the kids involved, and their kids align with our kids' ages.
Yes. And
I still don't know how they do all that. But
well, and a lot of people, ours, we started filming as we started at the beginning. Like with Natalie and Nico, they had been putting a lot of work into theirs before they ever
That's true.
began their YouTube. So we can say, gosh, it's beautiful, but they put a lot of sweat and tears in it before they ever put it on film.
That's true.
And so here we are. We started ours with raw land, and we have built it from that first plow through the dirt for that first garden,
Yep.
And it's something we have to humble ourselves to sometimes, to say, look, we're where we can be, and one day ours will be that too. When our kids grow up.
All right, so now we got to get started on that part. We'll just start and work our way back. So Mackenzie is in high school. She has marching band she's involved with.
Church.
She's on the student worship team at church. There's just a lot of things a teenager does. It's not quite like the boys who are wide open all the time, but she has a lot of stuff to be involved with too.
Her obligations are big.
And it's a lot of high school stuff. We run her back and forth. She's not quite driving yet, so hopefully when she's driving, that'll take away some of that.
Which means I actually got to let her practice some.
Yeah.
People ask me that all the time, if I'm letting her, how her driving's coming, and I don't answer because I'm scared to get in the car with her. Anyway.
And then we have Chance. And Chance wants to play every sport under the sun.
Chance has ADHD, so keeping him busy is a must, but it's also tiresome.
But keeping him busy keeps us busy.
Right.
But with Chance, he loves all those sports, but that pulls time. And both boys love sports. They both play baseball and football, and they both want Dad to coach. I can't coach Rhett because he's feral.
Yes.
He wants me to coach until I get on the field with him, and then he stomps his foot at me and
don't want to listen.
Daddy, I know that, and all this kind of stuff. So we keep Chance occupied with that, but that requires a lot from us. And I mentioned that we got started watching some Joel Salatin videos. Well, if you've read his books or watched any of his videos or speeches, he leads into, with the farm, you have to sacrifice all that other stuff. And if you want to make your living at a farm, you might. If you are solely based on the farm for all of your income, if he wasn't doing a YouTube income and things like that, you might have to sacrifice that. And I don't remember which book it is, but one of them he actually says, no Little League, no this, no that. We didn't want to sacrifice everything our kids do in order to make this work.
Right.
We could, yeah, sure, could we be farther ahead? Maybe, but then they miss all those experiences.
Right.
So right now, we have football practice 3 days a week, both boys. Mackenzie has band practice every day after school. We have to pick her up on the way to take the boys to school, to football practice. That's after we both have worked during the day.
And work the farm.
So Zoe gets off in time to pick the boys up from school, comes to the farm and feeds, and that's where the farm work stops most of the time. There's that time for projects isn't there during the week, but you can't just skip feeding and making sure everybody has clean water and all this good stuff. So her and the boys typically come take care of that during the week. When I get off work, I make it to the house, run in the house, change clothes. We all gather up in the car and take off to football practice. In that period of time, Zoe has picked up Mackenzie from the high school just to get everybody back together. Sometimes, if they're running a little bit later, I have to go separately with the boys, and Zoe drops Mackenzie off at the house, and she comes to football practice because the boys want her there to watch. And that leaves Mackenzie at home
To help.
to cook dinner.
Yep. To do
And
that part.
try to get laundry started and all this good stuff. So when I say that there's a family of 5 running this farm, that doesn't just mean that they're out here on the weekends doing chores. That means in order to keep this going, everybody's having to do their own thing outside of here too. And that's our life.
That is. It's chaotic and it's crazy and it's a whirlwind most days and we're tired, but this is all we know.
And then on Saturdays, you have the football games. That's where we're going to be in a little while. Both boys have football games today.
Or baseball games during baseball season.
Mackenzie has football games on Friday nights that we try to make it to unless it's an away game that's too far away. And we have the boys playing football today, but typically on a Saturday, that would be the days to work on the farm, try to get projects done, and then Zoe and I are both off on Mondays, and that's our heavy day. But y'all, somewhere in that, you still have to get something for video.
Uh-huh.
You don't just record it. Then you've got to edit it and put it together and make it something that somebody wants to watch. During baseball season, with both boys being in different age groups and practices and the games fall during the week, many times I'm editing your video in the truck sitting at the fence watching the boys play baseball.
Yeah.
I'll sit in the outfield fence, watch the boys, edit a video, and when I'm done editing, I hit the bleachers with Zoe. Or, as typically happens, I end up helping coach Chance. So I have to make that work both ways. And sometimes it may be editing before the game and finishing after. Sometimes it's the boys playing at different times so I can help coach one and edit while the other one's playing. It's just all part of it. And that puts more load on Zoe to try to get them to the practices. There's some days where it's just, you go work at the farm, I'll take the boys to practice. And y'all have heard it. I'll come out here. Well, no Zoe, she's gone to baseball practice. But to answer a lot of those questions about why we're not doing certain things, we can, but does it take away everything our kids want and need to experience during this time? They need to be something besides working on the farm. And this is the only way that we can have both. The only way that we can ensure that when they have kids, they get to tell them about the teams they played on, the championships they won.
All-stars and the, yep.
And we have to make it work. So
there it is. We sacrifice the speed of the growth of the farm so that we can experience those with the kids now. And then while we also work on the farm and growing it as secondary.
It's the only way to do both.
It
so
is.
I hope that answers some of those questions. Now, that's certainly not to say that you're not going to continue to see progress here on the farm. You know that we're going to be finishing the goat shelter. We're this close to you seeing that. We also have some plans and materials for something you'll see with a barn, some more fencing. All of this is laying out, guys. It's just going to take some time, but
And our protege rebuild.
you've seen that start. That's going to be coming up in some more videos. The protege will be worked on.
An aviary for the peacocks.
Aviary. Look, we're not talking about what we want to do in the future. We're telling you what's going to happen this fall. That's coming up now. As we get through football season, we'll wrap up in November. I've got long work hours coming through part of that, but this is stuff that you're about to see. And water project for getting the lines in, all of this, it's time for it to happen now. And I know some will say, hey, before you start all that, why don't you work on, it ain't time to live here.
That door is not open.
We wish it was, but that is just not where we're being led yet. So our projects are what they are. But this is stuff that you're about to see coming up. You're going to see a lot of changes to Chestnut Hills Farmstead. There's already been a lot from the beginning, but you're about to see even more changes in how we operate day to day. You're going to be seeing some changes in the videos, how things happen. I hope you like it. If you don't, let me know.
So Nick's got me out here sweating to death. But before we go, let's talk about our campaign we're still doing for the boys. And if you haven't already watched the video, you need to watch it. And secondly, we are doing a campaign. The boys football team is raising money as their fundraiser. Raising money as
That's usually what you do for fundraisers,
Yeah.
is raise money.
So this year we're selling mums, and we have already met our quota. But we did have a viewer who said, hey, I would like to purchase one, and you guys donate it to a local nursing home. And Nick was like, that is a fantastic idea.
So one of the points that Zoe and I have started to change is that we were just focused on the farm, and okay, now we have a channel, we'll try to grow that. Well, now that it has grown a little, look, we're still small,
Right.
but we felt led to use that in our community a little more.
Yes.
And we thought this was a perfect opportunity to do that. If we can help our community and let the viewers help us help them, then that was something that we wanted to run with. I'm going to show you, I have a little clip of the farm that is producing those mums. And they are growing right now. You can actually see what they're going to look, minus the flowers, they're working. But you can see the containers and the mums are starting to fill out already. So if you still want to be involved, you have time.
Yes, so until September the 18th?
19th.
September the 19th. We do have 3 ways that you can help. You can send by PayPal or Venmo. You can send it directly to the league. You can even send us a check and make it directly to our league. That way you know that the money is going to the right place, and you can just pick whatever color you want. We've got 6 colors to choose from. We'll put all that information on the screen again.
And we've had lots of viewers
So
mail checks in.
We have.
Made out to Verbena Youth Football. It's not coming to us. It's not for our farm.
Now you can mail it to us, and
You
I'll
can.
handle getting it to where it needs to go. But what we'll do is we'll get all of our orders turned in, and then the day of pickup, which is going to be in October, we'll go pick up all of the flowers, and the boys and us will take them and deliver them, and we'll do that with video. We've already got consent to do that, and we've got it all lined up for that to happen. And we'll make a video showing you guys all of the mums that you have helped be a blessing to somebody else with.
And some of the reaction that you guys helped create.
We really have a goal of 30. The nursing home we're working with has a need for 50.
Yeah.
So we have not met our 30 yet. We are really working hard, and I would love to be able to exceed that if at all possible, because people just need encouragement. You guys know that. You see it. Some of you need the encouragement, and so being a blessing for somebody else can lift your spirits along with somebody else's.
And we had some viewers already reach out. Some that bought mums, some that said, hey, I can't do it right now. All I can do is offer prayers for this campaign. That's perfect.
Yeah,
Y'all,
we have no
but
expectations
we
from
got
anyone.
good stories from my dad was in a nursing home and got a Valentine's card, and it just
Right.
changed his day. And those
And
kind of stories, that's the difference we want to make.
right, and even if we don't have enough to fill the whole nursing home, we're going to let the boys go around and visit everybody too. You know, that way because that, just that smile and that interaction with the kid is going to make somebody else happy.
Well, guys, we appreciate you being with us. This was a different kind of video, but we had to lay some things out there,
And it's a beautiful morning,
answer some questions.
and I'm sweating to death because of you.
Sweating to death, so dramatic. Guys, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time on Chestnut Hills Farmstead.
Bye, guys.